all, it's always fantastic to work with TTI and yourself, and great to see Tom early on, which is giving me a real difficult challenge because following Tom is not an easy task. Having said that, what I'd like to do is I'd like to share with you some of the latest things that we're doing from research. I'm going to go through a lot of slides, and I need to apologize to you, Paul, because as Tom was speaking, I was changing my slides because I want to change some of the repetition. So a lot of the things that we'll see in terms of tourism in the future will kind of be encapsulated in the next few minutes. I need to advertise the Encyclopedia of Tourism Management and Marketing, which is just coming out today online, and this is the URL. This is something. It's a work of love for me, and COVID has given me the opportunity to kind of work with 1,600 people from around the world to do that. And what the encyclopedia is saying is that you've got a tourism system that you need to operate by looking to the resources that come in and the value that you co-create. And there are several things on what I call the tourism pyramids that we need to put together in order to manage tourism in the best possible way. This is a little bit theoretical, but actually it gives you all the understanding of what tourism needs to happen in order to operate, especially during the COVID and after the COVID period. COVID has been a crisis unlike any other. We have 120 million confirmed cases. We have 2.7 deaths. So we have suffered, especially in the UK, dramatically with many, many people who have died. And you can see in comparisons how different countries have actually suffered from COVID. It has been such a disaster. We've never seen a crisis like that. And you can see that we kind of managed it in the springtime, then in the summertime it was a little bit better. And then as we are going the winter and we went back into indoor situations and Christmas, it had dramatic effects. The only way I can describe COVID is a war. And we really need to start not thinking COVID as a crisis, because normally crisis is happening over a few hours, a couple of days, and then we move on. I think this is a war, and our generations hadn't had any wars, and I think that's the equivalent of war, and we really need to look into that. And when you go into a war, you've got a range of different damages on properties, and also on you've got deaths and casualties. And these are our heroes, that they are fighting this war on the front line every day, trying to save people. And of course, some people have actually died. And this is the background to what we're doing. And of course, it's obviously we know all these things, but quite often in tourism, I hear a lot of people say, okay, can we go back to 2019, please? Because this is what's happening. I think we need to recognize what's happening. This is Bournemouth Airport. Bournemouth Airport has never seen so many British Airways flights, and I wish they were operational, but they're not. They're parked there. And we've got a lot of colleagues around the world who have been operating in a very unusual kind of circumstances, not only in terms of bookings, cancellations, rebookings, changes, but also on the front line where they had to meet people and they had to put their own safety on the line, and at the same time operating for the safety of their passengers, their residents in their destinations, and things like that. Having said that, there are some winners that we keep forgetting. So domestic is booming. Bournemouth is calling, and Bournemouth had a fantastic summer, and the New Forest had a fantastic summer. And a lot of people actually discovered those places, and the fact that they cannot rush away immediately. And of course, some people really enjoyed the Bournemouth this summer. We don't want that to repeat, but we like a little bit of a better kind of thing. Equally, several countries have actually been very good, and Greece is getting ready too to bring you back. And my friends and colleagues in Greece are waiting for you, because all you want is Greece, and you know that. So this is our heroes, our people who are on the front line. And international tourism was reduced by 74% in the last year, and that has got enormous implications for the economy and for jobs around the world. Now, how we're going to get out of that? I came earlier and I talked about humanity, solidarity, leadership, and resilience. We need to have all the resilience we can get in order to get us out of here. Resilience in terms of liquidity for the business to survive, but also resilience in terms of the society to enable us to move forward and to engage with different things. But most importantly, I think we need humanity and solidarity in a way that will enable us to see society not only at the place of origin, but at the destination and everything in between to see us through. There is light at the end of the tunnel. And the light at the end of the tunnel is coming not only because we know what to do and we can keep the protocols and stay safe, but also the race for the vaccination. So I just had mine a couple of weeks ago, and I kind of felt liberated. But we are not going to be liberated until all this map is really very dark blue. And you can see that many places have not started yet. And there's a competition, if you like. Let me get a glass of water here. There's a competition between different countries, but I think we need to realize that all of us need to create immunity so we'll be able to go forward. When you see the different countries, you can see the percentages here. Israel is running ahead of everybody else with almost 110% vaccination level. Then you've got the United Arab Emirates. Then you've got the UK, that we crossed yesterday the 20 million mark, 25 million mark, and almost 39%. But when you look at the war here, it's 4.89, almost 5%. And my previous seminar this morning was with India, and they are 2.4%. So we really need to be able to move with the vaccination very, very quickly in order to be able to do that. And several governments around the world, they start prioritizing staff that they are traveling or staff that they are on the front line. Singapore is remarkable on that and has vaccinated all the crew on Singapore Airlines. Now, the next big thing is whether we'll need vaccine certificates to actually travel. And Alan Joyce from Qantas in Australia came early and he said that will be a prerequisite. Saga said that for their cruises, that people will need to get COVID vaccines before they travel. And of course, we had the certificate of vaccination for many years. These are my 3 passports. I always carry with me, and especially when you go to African countries, unless you've got certain vaccinations, you're not allowed in the country. So the Greek Prime Minister came and suggested that 3 or 4 months ago, if I remember well, and that is kind of being adopted because it's inevitable that it's going to happen. And I think we are experiencing the storm, and after the storm, there's a rainbow. And I think we need to understand how technology can help us move things forward. The positive thing is that the assets are still there. This war has not damaged our assets. What has damaged is our ability to use our assets, and it has killed a lot of people. So I think we need to look into how we can take advantage of our assets in terms of creating experience and bring differentiation and bring confidence and safety back in the agenda to enable people to go out and enjoy what we've got to offer. Quite often I hear people that they say, let's go back to normality. I think we need to start realizing that we are not going back, but we're going forward. And the past is kind of becoming irrelevant. That's really important because we need to understand where we're going. And I think something that especially people in societies that they do planning, we will find challenging that we get to the end of the planning era and we're going to the beginning of the agility era. Now, I heard Tom early on that says, you know, we had so long to plan and we are moving things and it's going to be operational. People had the time to book and things like that. I think what has happened is that the long-term planning has shrunk down to 2 weeks. I don't think that anybody actually can do any serious planning for more than 2 weeks right now, especially in terms of traveling and what they're doing. And that's what the consumers, they find really, really difficult to operate in an environment where they cannot plan so much ahead. I think the sooner we understand that in the tourism industry, the sooner we'll bring everything into place to be able to survive and to support the demand in this 2-week window. And I think it's really critical to look into, okay, what can we do longer term? But what's really important is how can we deal with people in the short period of time, and how we can do something that I call real time. I think herd immunity is going to be very critical to take off, but I think smartness and agility is going to build resilience. And we're doing something at Bournemouth University that we call it real-time resilience, in looking to all the different factors that are coming together to maximize resilience. Now, technology and smartness is going to bring a lot of solutions, and a lot of information needs to come forward with big data actually telling us what we can do and what we cannot do, and be prepared that we will have to change. I think a lot of people, I hear on the news very often on BBC, how many people are upset because their plans have changed. Like someone was responsible for their plans that they've changed. We need to respect the virus. And we need to respect the situation and the war that we're in. And when you're in a war, you're constantly reevaluating what the enemy is doing, and you are constantly changing your strategies against it. And I think that's the only way that's going to get us out. It's really about getting real-time information, analyze the information in real time, and go back and fight the enemy. And in that process, developing the bridges, the bubbles, and all the other tools that we've got. Smart systems will be critical in that. And smart systems will enable us to communicate, look for information, and operate in real time. I think a lot of track and trace applications are out there, and we can see where people go and who they are with, and that will enable us to look into the epidemiological load that they may have. So they will understand where the problem is and how we can address that problem. And China is almost out of this, because for their own reasons, they operate in that way anyway. So they came out with the applications that they were giving the green light or the green certificate, and will enable some people to travel and some other people not to travel. The digital green certificate came out yesterday from the European Commission, and you can see what it does. It's effectively, it's going to give the permission for people to go if they've had, if they have a vaccine, or if they had a negative test, or they have recovered for COVID. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to see if people are immunized from the virus and they can protect themselves, they protect others, and they protect the health systems, not only in the place of origin, but also at the destination, because you don't really want to go to Egypt or to Spain or to Greece or to Italy or somewhere else if the health system cannot actually support you while you're there. So we are all in this together, and we need to understand how we're going to do things. Thailand has come out with the Thailand Plus application, and they are using a whole range of different information that not only provides health information and track and trace, but also additional context-based information when you are on location. And you can see a lot of those things in this video, which I don't have the time to play. And I think IATA is playing a very important role with the travel pass, and a lot of airlines are becoming members of the IATA travel pass. And yesterday, the first passenger used the IATA travel pass to arrive in London on Singapore Airlines 308. And what it does is create a passport effectively within your booking to actually bring all your health information, or the vaccine-related health information, and to make sure that you're okay to travel. And you can see on IATA the travel pass information for more detail. Now, a lot of the hotels have actually used a range of different things to improve their protocols. This hotel icon in Hong Kong that they collaborate with, and they've got a range of different protocols to make sure that their staff is and their customers is safe, and they are not contributing to the problem, but they are engaging in a way that they can support everybody who is involved in that. And you can see a lot of those applications of technology in different places around in Asia, and primarily where they had to deal with pandemics in the past and SARS, and they know what to do with these things. And we need to also look into our facilities and see how we can reduce the epidemiological load in facilities by ventilation, by different flows, by managing places in a different way. I think technology is also give us the opportunity to have a lot of touchless services, because you can have a remote control through your mobile phone, and you can control television or the room service and do all the functions that without touching common areas where we need to do. And the other thing is, of course, technology will give us the opportunity to disinfect different environments very quickly and very efficiently, to raise safety and make sure that not only it's safe, but also people understand that it's safe and we are engaged with that. And eventually we'll see robotics coming into the business, and some of these technologies that are coming forward. And I think when you look forward in a little bit further down, you'll see a lot of new technologies that are coming that they're not necessarily related with COVID, but can help us get us out of COVID. Especially with autonomous vehicles and self-driving cars and things like that. And this is my book that's coming out on gamification for tourism, that says how technology can help create new experiences. Now, when I say these things, normally people say, oh, this is something that's going to happen in the future. In fact, it's happening already. This is me last year in the New Century Grand Hotel in Hangzhou in China, where this little fellow was doing deliveries, and he was following me around, and we became friends, and we're talking fairly good English, much better English than some of the hotel staff had in that particular place. So a lot of those things are already here. It's a matter of how fast we're going to be able to implement them. A lot of the things that we talked about is based on the research that we do in Bournemouth University, and this is some of the citations and some of the publications that we've done with those things. Thank you very much. Thank you.
That's great, Dimitrios. Thanks for that. That's wonderful. And there's a few questions. Let me start with Ola's question, if I may, because it's very similar to one I was going to ask. Good question. You mentioned some planning's out and agility is in. You mentioned 2-week window. And Ola asks, and I was thinking as well, are you saying travelers shouldn't plan? Because one of the joys of traveling, people love doing, is they spend 3 or 4 months actually planning what they're going to do with the holiday. It's part of the pleasure of travel. Any thoughts on that?
I think you're absolutely right, and I think we need to keep the engines warm and make people dream, really. But we should also understand why people do not commit. They don't go to travel agent, or they don't go online and commit 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 pounds to travel. And we should also understand that they are looking to domestic holidays, and they are looking to different things that will eliminate their risk. Because the risk is not only health, it's financial risk, and so not only about the 5,000 pounds that they're going to give to an organization for their holidays, but also would they have a job next week, and would they be made redundant, or if if we have got lockdowns, would they be able to work if they are self-employed, or because we are knowledge workers, but also there are a lot of people who are working with their hands out there, and they may have significant implications on their income.
Yes, so in fact, the planning might still exist. People might still be planning their dreams, but maybe more wary of making early financial commitments, perhaps.
You're absolutely right, Paul. Exactly.
Okay, fine.
And the point after that is that the industry needs to be ready to welcome people that they actually would like to book today and fly tomorrow. Which that needs a re-engineering of a lot of the things that we're doing. We need to be able to take bookings at 10 o'clock at night, and someone jump on a plane at 6 o'clock tomorrow morning and fly, rather than wait until Monday when the office is open again.
Yes, and I guess there's a new flexibility. I booked some flights to go to Florida at the end of May. The reason I've actually booked the flights is the airline that I booked with has made it very easy to actually move those flights with no cost penalties. It's very easily done. So maybe that's part of the new way of doing business that wasn't there before.
Absolutely.
Let's look at Pete's question. He mentioned that one of the benefits of lockdown has been climate change. If you remember here in the UK in the early days of lockdown, no aircraft traveling, suddenly you could hear the birds and the bees, and it was like being in the countryside even if you weren't. Any thoughts about how we can maintain those benefits and balance them against the urge to get traveling again? Or maybe we can't.
There's a huge demand, and there's a huge responsibility towards sustainability in what we're doing. And I think we really need to look into what we're doing, because if we are honest with ourselves, not everything we did in 2019 we'll be proud of. So we really need to look into case by case how we can improve sustainability of destinations and sustainability of travel in general. I think one of the important things is really looking to how technology will enable us to reduce the carbon footprint and look into different kind of ways of reducing impact. Having said that, there's another element to this, that a lot of natural environments have been under increasing stress because of the situation with COVID. Elephants in Thailand do not have food to eat effectively, and they die because they do not have tourists that they are buying bananas for them. So it's much more complicated than let's stop and degrowth, because societies around the world, they depend on tourism for their livelihood. I think technology, my idea of sustainability is that we need to bring technology forward, that we reduce dramatically the negative impacts on our environment, and will enable our environment to operate in a much better way.
Okay, fine. A specific question about Greece. In an interview this morning on ITV, the Greek tourism minister said he would act unilaterally if the EU vaccination certificate was not in place. Do you see that happening, and maybe happening in other EU countries that really need those tourists to arrive?
Look, the Greece, Spain, a little bit less Italy, Portugal, and several other countries are quite desperate for the tourism trade. It's not a secret. When you go into some of the smaller islands, you may have 78% of the GDP depending on tourism. And it's kind of inevitable, because if you're a very small island that you do not have other resources, that's what you have specialized over the years, and that's a beautiful thing. So when you're going to Corfu, Rhodes, Kos, some of the islands that they are quite small actually, they depend on this thing. So Greece has been very, very good in managing COVID so far. It had 1/3 of the victims from Spain, and it had some of the best management of the epidemiological situation. Everybody is desperate. All my friends, relatives, and everybody else are desperate to welcome you back. And they had a very good summer last year with 25% of the business. But they actually did that in such a safe way that there was no outbreak on most of the islands, and they took all the protocols seriously, and they operate in a different way. So yes, Greece is desperate to bring people back, because that is the livelihood of a lot of people and a lot of societies, and especially on the islands. And I think it will be ready to welcome everybody back. The situation is we really go down the race of the vaccines, and we really need to understand what we're going to do. And something else now you bring to Greece. If people need to realize that when they're going on holiday, they need to do slightly different things. So places like Mykonos, where you go and do parties on big bars with 2,000 people in, I don't think it's a good idea. But Greece is much more than that, and has got so much more resource to do. And you've got so much areas and places to to explore where you don't need to be in a confined area with 2,000 people.
Okay, fine. Dimitrios, there are two more questions on the Q&A panel, but I'm trying to run on schedule. You have to do this with Zoom nowadays. I wonder if you could actually maybe type answers into the Q&A panel for those, or perhaps into the chat. That would be lovely. And Professor Dimitrios Buhalis, thank you so much for your insight. It's been wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul.